Hello guys and welcome to the LawPutra's YouTube channel. Our today's topic is social contract theory in jurisprudence. I am Jagannath Kulkarni. Today we will discuss about the social contract theory and also how it correlates with our constitution, the Indian constitution. Let us start with these two fundamental ideas behind this social contract theory. It all begins with the human mind. How our human mind thinks, our human mind clinges about the ideas. The very first idea is the value of liberty. Liberty of everything. It's a personal liberty, it's a liberty of life, it's a liberty of mind. And the second is the value of justice, which is very important. Every human mind wants the justice and it should be in time, it should be proper justice. When we talk about the value of liberty, it means it is the will and not the force which should be the basis of government. So this is the first and foremost the value of liberty. When we talk about the value of justice, it means it is the right and not the might, which is the basis of every political society and every system of political order. So always remember these two things about the human mind, liberty and justice. When we continue with the social contract theory as to how it evolves, let us start with the quotation of Jean-Jacques Rousseau. He said, "Man is born free and everywhere he is in chains. One thinks himself of the master of others and still remains a greater slave than they themselves." And now what John Locke, who is the founder of social contract theory or who is considered to be the pioneer of social contract theory, he said a very interesting thing. He said, every man has a property in his own person. So every man has an interest in himself. And when we think about the property, when we talk about the property, it covers three things. Number one is life of that person. Second is the liberty of that person. And the third is the estate of that person. So life is not just the life, but it is the life, liberty, property covers life, liberty and estate. And this property, which is covering life, liberty and estate, it was insecure. Why? Because number one is that there was no established law to secure this. Second is there was no impartial judge to ensure its security. And the third is natural power to execute that natural law. It was not always commensurate with claim. So this was the necessity behind this social contract theory. Now consider law to be an expression of the will of the people. It is the wish of the people, it is the intention of the people, and that should be the law. When we talk about the state, that is the government, the origin of this state is due to the general agreement, which is freely entered into by equal and independent individuals who are living in a state of nature to form themselves into a community. As we know, man is a social animal, so he cannot live alone. He has to form the community. And why to form the community? And then to obey a government, any trustworthy institution we can say, any trustworthy system we can say, which is established by those people for the protection of their natural rights. And then we say state is a result of an agreement between the people, these people who forms the community, to unite together at the first instance, and it is termed as pactum unionis. It is the agreement between the people at the first instance. And then agreement between these people and the ruler who is chosen by them. And this is called as the pactum subjectionis. And by this agreement, second agreement, authority and power is given to the ruler. So two agreements form this social contract theory. Then we say John Locke's social contract theory and Constitution of India. This is the crux of today's presentation. Whenever we say study any theory, we have to correlate it with our own society, our own community, our own country. When we talk about our own country, the basis, the domain is the Constitution of India. And let us see how that correlates. Locke's theory says man in state of nature felt need to protect their property, which covers life, liberty and estate. For purpose of protection of their property, these men entered into social contract, under which people came together, made two agreements, as we see, pactum unionis and pactum subjectionis. Pactum unionis, people formed association in order to move themselves to from state of protection of their lives and property, attempt to sort protection. They from the nature into civil society. We cannot live in the natural conditions, so we have to form the civil society. And a society was formed where people undertook to respect each other and live in peace and harmony. This is the pactum unionis. It was made between the people themselves. They surrendered their rights to community as a whole, but not to any individual, but the community, and thereby creating a political society and government through their consent. Here we mean the will of the people. If we see the constitution, it starts with its basis, that is the preamble, which begins with the phrase, "We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign," and so on. This phrase, beginning of this phrase, it shows the people of India coming together to form a sovereign authority, that is the sovereign of India. And this can aptly be related to what Locke has described as the pactum unionis. It is the agreement between the people. Then, through pactum subjectionis, that is the second agreement as Locke defined, people united together and they pledged to obey an authority and surrendered part of their freedom and rights to that authority. Remember this word, it is only the part, not the full authority or full freedom rights they are not surrendering. And who, that is that authority, on the other hand, it guarantees to everyone protection of life, property and to certain extent liberty. Again, even the liberty is protected up to certain extent, and it is the made between people and ruler. And through this second agreement, people empowered that authority to enforce the initial agreement, that is the pactum unionis. So it is so well to be entwined together, so correlated together. If we see compare it with the preamble again, which ends with "do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this constitution." This ending phrase, it reflects the attempt made by people of India to unite together and pledge to obey an authority, that is the Constitution of India, and thereby forming the government of India. So this is so nicely correlated with Locke's social contract theory and our constitution. And people of India enter into a contract and certainly and security to their lives and property, to protect their lives and property. So this is so mutual agreement, we can say, between the people, and again between the people and the ruler of the country. Now see, under social contract, people did not surrender all their rights to sovereign authority, that is the government, but they surrender only right to preserve or maintain order and enforce law of nature. Constitution contains a long list of fundamental rights. We know Article 14 to Article 35 in Part 3. These rights are regarded as fundamental because they are most essential for attainment of full intellectual, moral, spiritual status of individual. And then individual retained with them other rights, right to life, right to liberty, right to estate, because these rights were considered natural and inalienable rights of men. If we see the Constitution, Article 21, it ensures to every citizen protection of life, personal liberty, and is supplemented by Article 20, Article 22. It provides necessary safeguards to prevent the unjust and illegal conviction and detention of person. So we can see here how the fundamental rights are protect the liberty or life liberty of the person, citizens of India. Locke advocates the limited surrendering of rights by people, and this is the form of basis of Constitution of India. If we see the very famous case of Maneka Gandhi versus Union of India, and which contains the judgment of Justice Bhagwati, it is very interesting to note. He said the fundamental rights represent the basic values which have been cherished by the people of our country, that is India, since the Vedic times, and they are calculated to protect the dignity of the individual and create the conditions in which every human being can develop his personality to the fullest extent. They weave a pattern of guarantee on the basic structure of human rights and impose negative obligations on the state not to encroach on individual liberty in its various dimensions. So with this is the conclusion of social contract theory. I thank you all for this social contract theory in jurisprudence. Thank you. Thank you very much.